Hello all, welcome to yet another enriching session on food microbiology. In today's video lecture, we'll be talking about impact of redox potential and composition on microbial growth and how they can be manipulated in order to preserve food for a long time. So let's get started. The third important factor for industry is redox potential. Redox indicates both oxidation and reduction reactions occurring simultaneously. The growth of microbes in food depends on several factors, as the chemicals present in food can act as either electron donors or electron acceptors. Oxidizing means a tendency to accept electron, okay? And reducing is tendency to give electron easily. Therefore, if food has more oxidizing compounds, the redox potential will be higher. And if it has more reducing agents, the redox potential will be lower. Different microbes require different extents of oxygen for their growth. Now, depending on the availability of oxygen, you have redox potential, which will vary. And depending on that, you have different microorganisms growing. So if you look at low redox potential, it means that you have more reducing agents present, lower oxygen. So anaerobes will grow. Higher redox potential, meaning more oxygen. Oxygen is always ready to accept electron rather than donate. So aerobes will grow. High and low redox potential results in growth of facultative anaerobes as they can easily adapt to high oxygen content or low oxygen content. Very low redox potential results in production of microaerophilic organisms that need very little oxygen for their growth. Now, how can this be manipulated in order to extend the shelf life of the product? Firstly, by adding additives like nitrite. So you have oxygen, which is one of the most important electron acceptors. So that is the one which is responsible for causing microbial growth. Now, if you substitute oxygen with something like nitrite or vitamin C, they compete with oxygen for the electron. And in fact, nitrite can accept electron more easily than oxygen. So it helps in shelf life extension. Another is packaging. Packaging helps facilitate removal of oxygen or air from the food product. It can be done either by subjecting it to modified atmospheric packaging or controlled atmospheric packaging. Finally, you have structure of food. Discrepancy in the reception of air. Now, what does it mean? Certain products like fresh vegetables and meat, they have lower redox potential on the inner surface. Why? Because it's not exposed to air, meaning it has lower oxygen in the inner surface, resulting in growth of one type of organism. In this case, it would be anaerobes, and the surface which is exposed to air, that is outer surface, will facilitate the growth of aerobes because of higher redox potential. Like humans, microbes also require nutrition for their growth. So in this slide, we'll be discussing the impact of composition on microbial growth. Now, what we have to remember is that food contains enough nutrients to support growth of a plethora of organisms. This is precisely why we also consume food, as we can derive nutrients from it, and that too essential nutrients to carry out various metabolic functions within the system. So what type of microbes grow in particular food depends on the availability of nutrients, as all microbes do not require all nutrients for its growth. There are some organisms that can grow easily by consuming just the very basic amount of nutrients. And then we have others that have complex nutritional demand.
They are called as fastidious organisms like Clostridium perfringens. Okay, they have complex nutritional demand, meaning without presence of particular nutrients, they do not grow in food. So this organism is very much relevant in food industry. Moving on, so what is the main form of energy present in food? The most common form of energy is in the form of carbohydrates, amino acids, then you also have alcohols, and sometimes some of the organisms they are capable of breaking down lipids to produce energy. The source of nitrogen includes peptide, proteins, urea. Consumption of these aid in synthesis of proteins via translation. Source of minerals are generally present in the form of salt. Vitamins are also readily available in food for supporting microbial growth. Now, all these things make food a very attractive medium for microbial growth. Having said that, okay, there are mechanisms in place in order to be able to reduce, inhibit, or inactivate microbial cells. So how can this be achieved? By modifying the composition. The first is by addition of acids. Addition of acids result in reduction of pH, and we have seen previously that microorganisms can grow only within a specific pH range. The second one is by modifying the atmosphere in which food is packed. So you have several ratio in which gases are combined in order to extend the shelf life of your product. So that can be modified depending on what kind of product you're packing. And in order to aid that, we can make use of two types of packaging: controlled atmospheric packaging or modified atmospheric packaging. Finally, we can add salt or sugar to reduce the amount of freely available water for microbial growth. If free water is not available for microbial growth, then the growth is not going to be that easy.
Be it for preservation using the concept of redox potential or composition, one common factor is packaging. So we will be discussing in this slide mainly about packaging. As oxygen availability has an important consequence on microbial growth, packaging is of essence. So microbes can grow easily in presence of oxygen as it's an essential element for growth. When we pack food with an intention to extend shelf life, one must remember that we have to reduce the concentration of oxygen present. This can be done by increasing concentration of another substitute gas. So gases used include carbon dioxide, hydrogen, nitrogen, and even oxygen, or at times a mixture of these. There are many methods available to pack food using modified atmosphere. However, we will be discussing modified atmospheric packaging and controlled atmospheric packaging and try to differentiate between them in the process. Now, modified atmospheric packaging, also called as MAP, your concentration of oxygen is reduced drastically during the process of packaging. Concentration of carbon dioxide is increased. Carbon dioxide is often used due to its inhibitory effect on microbial growth. What's important is that the composition of gas can change during storage due to gas-food interaction. So if it is kept for a very long time, there is gas-food interaction resulting in composition change during storage. Controlled atmospheric packaging, also called as CAP, in this air is removed from the package. It's replaced with a mixture of gases, usually the ones that are given here, and then it's placed in hermetically sealed container. Now the composition of the gas that is injected into the package remains constant during storage. This results in a product that can remain stable for about 6 to 8 months. When I say stable, it's definitely microbially stable. I'll discuss about this further in one of the other videos, wherein we'll be taking up modified atmospheric packaging and why a specific gas is used in order to carry out the packaging. Thank you for listening to me patiently. In my next lecture, we'll be discussing about the remaining intrinsic factors. That is, firstly, we'll be talking about natural defense present in plant that prevents microbial growth. And secondly, antimicrobial substances produced by certain species of bacteria that act against other species in detail. Until then, merci beaucoup.